Barbara Park, April 21st, 1947 to November 15th, 2013. Biographical information. She grew up in Mount Holly Township, New Jersey. Young Barbara was the class clown in elementary school. In high school and college, she studied to be a teacher. After college, Barbara married Richard Park. He was in the Air Force, and she stayed home to raise their two boys, Stephen and David. One day, her son brought home a funny book written by Judy Blume. This gave her the inspiration to write her first book. Early writing career. Her first book, Operation Dump the Chump, was rejected 3 times at first. Her next book that followed was Mike Hart Was Here, Skinny Bones, The Kid in the Red Jacket, Maxie, Rosie, and Earl, Rosie Swanson, 4th Grade Geek for President, and Dear God Help, Love, Earl. Junie B. Jones. The most famous of Barbara's fictional kids is Junie B. Jones. Junie B. Jones follows a smart, outspoken, interesting kindergartner. The Junie B. Jones series has sold over 60 million copies in America alone. The series was consistently a #1 New York Times bestseller, spending over 180 weeks on the list. One of these bestsellers is Pictured Right, Junie B. Jones and the Mushy Gushy Valentine. Interview with Barbara Park done by Teaching Books. Teaching Books asks, how did the Junie B. Jones series begin? Barbara Park says, Janet Schulman, the publisher at Random House, wanted to start a series of easy readers called Step Into Reading. She asked 4 different authors to write a 4-book miniseries of short chapter books. By the time Random House invited me to write Junie B. Jones, I had published about 10 middle grade novels, including Skinny Bones and Kid in the Red Jacket. Janet gave us the reading level, told us how long the books had to be, and then gave us freedom by saying, go with it. There was some worry about whether my dry sense of humor would translate to 1st and 2nd graders. I got around that by putting myself into the head of a 5-year-old girl, I would speak exactly like she would, which means that I would have to have trouble with the language and trouble with keeping my personality reined in, as I did at that age. Junie B. Jones was then born. Teaching Books asks, your books are very human. Junie is a girl who makes mistakes in her actions, her language, and her life because she's 5. How do readers respond to her humanity? Barbara Park says, this is a little girl whose personality is too strong for her age. Kids see that in Junie. They see that she's out of control, and they love that. She's also like a lot of other kids. That's where you get the humor. I got a letter from a girl who said, we know that Junie B isn't real, but could she come to our classroom? That spoke so well to the idea that she's fictional, yet could be in a real classroom. Teaching Books asks, do the situations that Junie encounters and their resolutions convey any kind of moral for your readers? Barbara Park says, Junie B's problems and everyday issues that all kids encounter. Those include dealing with other kids and being embarrassed, afraid, hurt, and scared to speak in front of someone. They're essentially just daily life hitting her from all angles. I try really hard not to set a moral. The situations work out as they work out. Sometimes Junie does the wrong thing and she has to pay the price. I think that teachers often try too hard to teach a lesson with literature, and for me, that's not what I see with my books. I'd like to see the story discussed, but not with any kind of heavy moral or lesson learned, because I don't believe it's the purpose of fictional characters to teach you anything. Teaching Books asks, despite the controversy over Junie's grammar, The Junie B. Jones books are often used for educational purposes. Will you share some examples of how teachers successfully incorporate them into the curriculum? Barbara Parks says, teachers are amazing allies of these series. There is a school in Phoenix called Creighton Elementary School that has a large number of ESL students. One of the second grades used Junie B to help motivate students who couldn't read. A teacher in Georgia had a student in the lowest reading group. She started reading Junie B in the classroom, and this piqued the student's interest. His reading improved. By the end of the year, he started getting in trouble because he was reading the books during math. I called the teacher and I asked if he would be embarrassed if I dedicated a book to him. She told me that he had moved, but she said, I will guarantee you that they'll be the highlight of this boy's life. So I did. The next year, his old school had him back to sign copies of the book. I also heard that books were going to be published in English for readers in Indonesia with the incorrect words circled, so that they could be used with English teaching tools. Teaching Books asks, what do you like to tell teachers? Barbara Park responds, I'd like to tell them, thank you. Teachers are the ones in the trenches, and they really make the difference. They are my heroes. Life outside the writing world. Barbara is very passionate about supporting important causes. She has a wish for children participating in the Make-A-Wish Foundation that she would dedicate upcoming books to kids whose dying wish was to meet her. Barbara also founded her own organization with her husband called Sisters in Survival, SIS. This nonprofit organization is dedicated to offering financial assistance to ovarian cancer patients. Barbara Park died on Friday, November 15, 2013, after fighting ovarian cancer heroically for 7.5 years. There are those who believe that the value of a children's book can be measured only in terms of the moral lessons it tries to impose, or the perfect roles model it offers. Personally, I happen to think that a book is of extraordinary value if it gives the reader nothing more than a smile or two. In fact, I happen to think that's huge. Sincerely, Barbara Park.